Hey man, when you're running your agency, do you ever just feel like you're just doing everything yourself? Yeah? So how's that going for you? Well, I guess I'm starting to build a team. Team? Do you mean Raj? That's right, motherfuckers. It is I, the great Tash Rambo Ramdeep, the greatest freelancer in all of Fiverr history. I am here to bump and dump like a chump to your white bitches. I'm here to ejaculate and evacuate, to hit it and quit it. All right, so we are definitely haven't gone too far, and we're getting canceled for sure now. What's up, guys? These videos are getting more ridiculous by the day. Today we're going to be talking about breaking through that 20K barrier. It is not an exact measurement. For some of you guys, it may be like 15 or 25 or 30, but it feels like this invisible barrier that comes up. And the reason it comes up is you go real hard on sales, and then all of a sudden you create all this work for yourself, and then you're building the websites and landing pages and running ads or doing SEO or something like that, and you take your foot off of the gas, and what happens is either a project finishes or a client leaves, and then all of a sudden you have to go real hard on sales, and what it creates is this sort of like endless roller coaster of income that you feels like you can never really get past this barrier. I'm going to show you guys the 3 things in this video that create it and how to get past it. For those of you guys who don't know me already, my name's Frankie Finn. I wrote these 2 best-selling books, Beyond the Agency Box and Passive Automated Recurring Income. I've also built up 3 of my own agencies up to 100 plus clients and helped thousands of people like you around the world to live this more beach, less laptop lifestyle. Let's get into the good stuff. All right, so let's talk thing number 1 that will stop you from making a whole bunch of money easily. And it is found in the difference between these 2 words, which sound very similar, but will create a very different experience for you. And it's the difference between the words custom and customization. I'm also going to talk about 2 companies you may have heard of called McDonald's and Amazon, and why they only do customization during the scaling process, and now they do custom only after they've achieved scale and things like that. And if you understand the difference, these 2 words sound very much alike, but they have a different experience. So what I want you to think of over here is customization, and the example we're going to use is the old Mickey D's. And custom right here is a restaurant that will make just about anything you ask for. So I want you to imagine you're scaling an agency and you run it like a restaurant that'll make anything. So one day somebody comes in and on Monday they say, "Do you guys know how to make pizza?" And you say, "Yeah." And all of a sudden now you got to figure out, well, you got to find out, where do I get the Italian flour from? You got to figure out pizza oven. You got to figure out toppings. You got to figure out baking and rising temperatures and flours and all that kind of stuff. And then the next day somebody comes in, says, "Hey, do you make Chinese food?" And of course you want their credit card and you want to kind of impress them a little bit like this.
The only way to bag a classy lady is to give her 2 tickets to the gun show. And see if she likes the goods.
So they're super impressed, but now all of a sudden you got a new problem and you have to find out, where do I get the egg roll ingredients? Where do I find the best soy sauce? What's the best Shaoxing wine that I'm supposed to use? And you got a whole new set of problems. And imagine somebody comes in on Wednesday and they say, "Hey, do you guys do catering?" And now you got to figure out which foods cater best, and you got to hire a delivery driver and things like that. Well, every day you're reinventing the wheel over here on custom. And so what happens is, this is going to be a big E for means it's a lot of energy every time you deliver a solution. So we're only 3 days into this and we've delivered 3 big E's. Now McDonald's, by the way, over here, when they first started scaling, they only sold one thing: burgers, right? They didn't even have fries and Coke like you know them now. So McDonald's does custom now, but in the beginning, all you could get was customization, which meant if you wanted a burger, they sold it to you. So that meant if you want extra pickles or cheese, they would modify it slightly to you, but they wouldn't do different things. And over here, they were doing something different every single day of the week. And so what ends up happening is, the first time you create the burger system, it's also a big E, meaning it's a lot of energy. But the second time, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, and on Thursday, and on Friday, and so forth, it's actually very easy to deliver because you're mostly done the burger before you even got the client, right? Because the real work was building the process that could be repeated to deliver clients. And this is the secret, by the way, to getting to this level of income.
$1 million.
$1 million! Okay, my evil laugh is clearly terrible and needs some work. No horrible comments about that. So anyways, if you're over here doing custom, what happens is because every day of the week you're reinventing the wheel, your fulfillment life is a nightmare. And to contrast these, by the way, just to give you guys an example in the real world, in my first agency, we did about 75% SEO for plastic surgeons. We were a white label agency, but the truth be told, anytime somebody showed up with a credit card, I said yes. And this created all these little problems, like how do I find a freelancer for this? I needed to find a graphic designer. I was constantly looking for unicorn freelancers. Over here in my second agency, all we did was Facebook ads for personal injury attorneys. And when I would figure out a winning ad for one client, I would automatically give the same essential ad to other clients. Yeah, I would change the phone number and their brand colors, but it was the same basic ad. When it worked for one person, it tended to work for them all. So over here, I was solving one problem, two problems, three problems, four problems. Over here, I was really solving one problem and then delivering that solution to 20 different people. So it creates a huge difference in the energy required to fulfill. And so over here, when you're doing custom, every time you sign a new client, you make a mountain of work for yourself. Over here, when you're doing customization, only the first client is a lot of work. The second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, we get to reuse that solution. And by the way, Amazon, when they first started scaling, all they sold were books. Yeah, now you can get just about anything on Amazon. But in the original days, they only did books and they would customize a little note. That is customization, personalization. All right, so let's get into the second thing when you are typically stuck at this barrier, where is most of the business? And the answer is inside of your own head. And when you are scaling past that, almost everything you do is documented in a process, and that process is stored in a project management system. So when the entire business is inside your head, often what you're thinking is things like, hey, it's just easier to do it myself. It's faster, it's better quality. And that may be true in the short term, but nothing will kill you more in the long term. If your goal is to go fast in the day-to-day, then keep everything in your head. If your goal is to go further and build a bigger structure that can make you 100K a month, 200K a month, whatever your number is, I'm not here to tell you what your number should be, but if you want to build a machine that does that, you're going to need people to cooperate with you, and that's a lot harder to do when the entire business model is inside your head. So I want you to, again, imagine the restaurant analogy, okay? You are the person who knows how to make the burger, but it's inside your head and you're the only one who knows how to make the perfect burger. Well, when you go to hire a team, it's going to be real hard. So you're only going to ever have a tiny restaurant because, well, you can only handle maybe 10 tables you can make burgers for. The flip side of that is, let's say we document the burger recipe. So this is the type of meat we use. This is the ratio. This is how long we chill it for. This is the ideal thickness. This is a step-by-step for cooking it. This is our bun recipe. This is our special sauce. We make it in batches this big. Taste for seasoning, etc. And we document that process. Now what's going to happen is when we go to run that restaurant, it's going to be a lot easier to delegate the burger, even if say the boss gets sick for a day or something like that, when we got an actual documented burger recipe, because that's just going to make everybody's life easier. And you're going to be this happy, by the way, the first time you successfully delegate something and people follow your process.
It's not unusual to be loved. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging about with anyone,
it's not unusual to scale with Frankie Finn. All right, so let's talk about the third thing, is you need good people to run your machine. And I'll tell you, most people, by the way, have B and C kind of level people and no instructions. And what you want are strong... What you want are strong people who are A-level players. And I learned this from a guy named Perry Marshall, who's the best-selling guy in our industry. And he said, imagine that you followed most people's hiring process to start a band. So you were looking at potential bandmates, and you said, hey, let's do an interview together. And you asked them, all the stupid interview questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you were a productive member of our team, how do you see yourself fitting in? What would you say your strengths are? And all those kind of bullshit questions they ask in an interview. And at the end of that, they said, hey, give us the references of your last 5 bands and we'll call them and we'll let you know in a month. Well, what the fuck would you learn about playing music with somebody as much as if you just picked up the guitars and you guys played a song together? In fact, in 5 or 10 minutes, you would know more about whether you guys would make for good band members together or not. based on that. And so the best way to find good people, it sounds really simple, but I like to do paid assignments and test them on the actual thing they're going to do. So Mark is here helping me edit this videos. When I was testing Mark, by the way, I had him edit a video, the actual task he's going to do. And when I said, hey, I like your video editing, I like your communication style as well, I like working with you, is a lot easier. The other thing too is why we want systems before people is, imagine you're trying to run a restaurant and it requires you to have this elusive unicorn like Gordon Ramsay level chef. Well, imagine your goal is to scale to 100 locations. You're gonna have a really hard time doing that if every time you open a new location, you need a superstar burger chef who comes knowing what to do. But if you have documented recipes of like, here's how we make an awesome burger, step 1, step 2, step 3, then you're going to be able to find really anybody who's good enough to follow instructions and has attention to detail and gives a fuck is really plug and play in your system. The same way that McDonald's may not make the best burgers, by the way, but they make the best systems, and McDonald's can plug and play anywhere. Like, they don't need Gordon Ramsay. I actually was in a McDonald's in Beijing, China, and those motherfuckers can make a Big Mac the same way they could in New York City because they have a documented process and a step-by-step system. So I want you to combine all of these ideas. And this is, by the way, if you guys are interested in scaling past the 20K a month mark, you may want to check out our Wolf Pack, which looks a little bit like this. The Wolfpack, by the way, is our mastermind for agency owners. If you guys are interested in that, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com and check out the old Wolfpack link. So what I want to share with you guys is get out of this doing this custom fulfillment and making different stuff every day of the week and get into staking your flag into we're going to be the best burger maker, which is, by the way, we're so big on picking a niche, is not because you're trying to find some secret source of money. You're just trying to narrow your delivery down to we only make burgers so that motherfucker can scale. And then you document it. And by the way, for most agencies, like between 10 and 20 processes are like 90% of what you're doing. So if you can get those 10, 20 things out of your head into a step-by-step process and into a project management tool where it can be tracked, measured, and systematized, and then you put people in front of here, what happens is this is the secret to how we're, for example, able to go to the beach, have a good time with their family, because I know burgers are getting made according to my recipe by really good people, and they're following instructions, and our machine is energy efficient. And over here, the flip side of that is if you want to not scale and you want to follow the broken recipe that many people do, is you create new solutions every single time you get a new client. If a plumber says, do you know how to do Google ads? You say yes. If a dentist says, have you ever run Facebook ads? You say yes. If an e-commerce place says, do you know how to make a Shopify website? You say yes. And every single day of the week, you create something custom. And then the entire solution and business model is in your head. And then as a result, you try and bring in people and you don't really have a way to screen for those people. And you bring in B and C level people and they end up making your life harder, not easier. So you end up with this fulfillment nightmare that's not easy to delegate. And even when you do delegate it, the people you give it to kind of give you mediocre, half-assed results, if they even do it at all. And you wonder and you contemplate, should I just blow this thing up? By the way, I always feel like you're not running an agency right if you don't feel like at least once every like 90 days, I should quit this thing. So anyways, that is the formula for getting past that 20K. And this is the other piece that I want to say just before we end this video, is I really wish I knew this. 5 clients over here in the custom is harder than 50 clients over here in customization. If you have 5 custom clients and everything is in your head and you only got B and C level peoples, that is a harder business to run than over here where you just make burgers, you got 50 clients, you got a documented recipe, and you got people running the machines to make the damn burgers. So I hope this helped you guys as a playbook that you guys can use to go grow and scale your agencies. And that's all I got for you guys in this video. Much love. May the force be with you. And make sure to subscribe. Buy my book or I will show up at your house and give you a 2-hour, 45-minute power presentation called A Retrospective, All the Ways in Which You Disappointed Me.